Hey guys, SGT here, and it's the 23rd of May with a massive silver slam and gold slam happening again today. The cartel is attacking, and I wanted to get the president of Miles Franklin, Andy Schectman, back on the line. Andy, we haven't talked to you in a very long time. Welcome back.
Hey, Sean. Great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. I mean, can you believe this? Silver Doctors is reporting today that 500 million ounces of paper silver may have been thrown at the COMEX today by the cartel. It just seems to be one endless attack after another.
Yeah, actually, I can believe it. I really, quite frankly, have been expecting it, and it doesn't surprise me. This is an election year. You know, you normally have metals soft. This is generally the softest part of the year for metals, early to midsummer. Coupled with an election year, you certainly have a large group of people that are trying to keep the status quo in place, and with the physical demand that's coming from around the globe, I think that they have no choice but to really hit it hard when they hit it to knock the wind out of the people that are accumulating.
Well, I think you're right. It's an attack. It's done by design. And see, when they're working with endless paper, Andy, I want to just level set for everybody who just still maybe doesn't understand this. When they're working, the cartel is working with endless paper. They can throw as much as they want to at the market to drive the physical price down. But take a look at today. We're only down $1 in silver.
It's the psychological thing that really comes into play. It's the fact that people get exhausted with watching months' worth of gain be blown out of the water in 15 minutes. And, you know, as Andy Hoffman, our marketing director, has said forever, I think it's about changing perception of reality. They want people to believe that gold and silver aren't the safe haven, that they aren't the life raft that everyone thinks that they should be, that oftentimes it gets hit when one would suspect or expect that the prices should be escalating, whether it be on a more sophisticated level with the options traders on options expiration, or just smashing it on days when the news would indicate it should be going higher. It's all part of the same game that's been going on for a long time. But I will admit that the attacks seem to be much more vicious. They appear to be much more common than they ever did. But again, this is an election year. There's a lot at stake right now, and I think that that's what they're trying to do. They want to keep the status quo. The last thing the Obama administration wants to see right now is $4 a gallon gas and $120 a barrel oil and gold and silver popping up, because all that really does is say that things here are worse than that they would like it to appear.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up that word psychological, because this is a psychological attack. It's a psychological game because, Andy, I got to tell you, I get emails every now and then from folks who will ask me, dear Sean, we really spent a lot of our wealth on silver, back up in the 40s and the high 30s. They ask me sometimes, have I lost everything? And my response to that is absolutely not. If you didn't intend to sell this week, then you haven't lost a dime. This is psychological warfare. It's their paper fiat system versus real tangible wealth. Can you help people understand that?
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's why you should never invest via your emotions, or never go to the grocery store when you're hungry. It's the type of deal where they're preying off of your emotions. I'll give you a good example. In 2008, we saw the price drop in silver from $21 to $9, and we saw the price of gold drop from $1,000 to $700. Now, if you would have bought in early 2008 and paid $1,000 an ounce for gold, only to watch it drop by 30% in a period of 2 weeks, it would be nauseating. Even more so with silver from 21 to 9, you're talking a 60% drop in a period of 2 weeks. Now, one would suspect or expect, with even a very small understanding of economics, that with all of that weakness in the market, 30 and 60% respectively in gold and silver, that would be equated to a weak demand as the price was plummeting. And with a minor knowledge of economics, you would know that supply and demand move inverse of each other. That's economics 101. And so one would think that with the price dropping, that would be weak demand coupled with an increase in supply. But in 2008, this is a prime example of what you're talking about. every major mint in the world was sold out of product. The Canadian and the Austrian mint were 16 weeks back-ordered, working 24 hours a day. The Perth Mint in Australia shut down, took no new business after August. The South African Mint ran out of Krugerrands for the first time in 50-some years. One wealthy businessman cleaned them out. And the U.S. Mint was shut down over a half a dozen times in 2008, and still to this day haven't made any platinum eagles. The ups and the downs in the price, especially the big price swings, have absolutely nothing to do with the physical market and everything to do with the perception of reality, altering the perception of reality, keeping everyone from dumping currency and running into precious metals. And, quite frankly, what I will tell you is that the whole industry experiences exponential growth in business when the price comes down. Our phones go off the hook when the price comes down because people are wise to the movements of the cartel, and I think are using these pullbacks as a subsidy to get longer in the metal, knowing that nothing substantive has changed. The outlook is still the same as it always has been, and maybe even worse. And so, I think if you're able to see the forest for the trees, then these pullbacks really are nothing other than a subsidy and a gift.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say. This is absolutely a subsidy. Do you remember when Ben Bernanke was in front of Ron Paul and Ron Paul held up a silver coin and pretty much schooled Ben Bernanke on the way that the Fed was fleecing the people? Do you recall that back in February?
I do. Yes, I do.
Well, I just wrote a piece about that today. And, here's my take on it. J.P. Morgan is the custodian of the SLV. Ron Paul is the custodian of the Constitution. J.P. Morgan is in bed with the Fed as a primary dealer. Ron Paul stands courageously against the Fed and points out that the Fed policies are fleecing generations. So I'm coming to the conclusion time and time again, Andy, that purchasing physical precious metals, silver and gold, truly is the honorable thing to do because you're getting away from this fiat debt-based criminal system.
I fully agree with you 100%. If everyone were to choose gold and silver over, if all of a sudden the U.S. government came out with, beads of different colors and said this is now money, most of the sheeple would buy into it. But the point is if everyone were to start to use gold and silver and usurp the U.S. dollar, and to a larger scale, that's what the big countries are doing right now. China and Japan and India and Iran, they're all looking to usurp the dollar. So whether it be on a macro or a micro level, I think that is happening, and so I agree with everything you're saying. And if people were to look at gold and silver as wealth instead of an investment and just a whether it be honorable or just smart, a smarter, better way to preserve your purchasing power, well, I think that's wise to whatever degree or at whatever level you do it. I think it's wise.
Yeah, I got together with some new friends, YouTube friends, people that I've met recently because of this thing that we're doing, because we're all taking back the flow of information and news in this country, and truth is being found on my website and others. And so Chad and Mike and I all got together last night, and we talked about this very thing, about investing your money in something that's tangible and real and feeling good about it, because no matter what this cartel does, when the physical is in your possession, they can't fleece it from you. They can't take it from you. So what are you seeing in terms of demand right now? Are you seeing demand go through the roof as prices plummet?
Well, when the price does come down, our business goes way up. There's no question. I've also noticed the whole industry is slower than one would expect, and that is because of the ramped up attacks on the market. And it does certainly affect the psyche of the gold and silver investor. There is no question about it. However, with that being said, we are seeing much larger orders. If you're aware of what's going on and you have the conviction in your belief, then these are buying opportunities. And I try to say that without sounding trite, without coming across as being disingenuous. I've been doing this for 22 years. I have a long history of understanding what's going on, but I can understand how a young couple who's making their mark on life and who just invested what they consider to be a very large sum of money into precious metals and watching it drop by 30 or 40%, how that would be rather disheartening and rather frightening. To me, nothing has changed. And the key is to be able to distance yourself from the daily ups and downs. Like Jim Sinclair says, when times like this, you dig a hole in the ground, pull a rock over your head, and come back out in the fall. Look at it then. You need to be able to see the forest for the trees. Nothing has changed. Things are getting worse. As my father wrote in his newsletter this morning, when you go to our website at milesfranklin.com and sign up for that, my gosh, the world's problems must have been solved while I slept this weekend. Gold is down over $40 from its recent high. Congress must have decided to present a balanced budget to the president. The Fed must have decided that things are so good that there is no need for more quantitative easing. War between Iran and Israel apparently is no longer an option, and the pigs must have worked their way through their deficit issues. The massively leveraged banks, including and especially JP, must have deleveraged. Housing prices must have turned around and are on their way back to pre-08 levels. There must be a few million brand new good-paying jobs for the chronically unemployed. Why else would gold suddenly be out of favor? I guess I just don't look to the right sources for my information. Things aren't changing. They're getting worse. Things aren't getting better. And if you understand that and are able to distance yourself from the emotion of it and see it for what it is, and knowing that until things do get better, which they probably won't anytime soon, that these pullbacks are one of your last few chances to not only get things at a good price, but to also get them, period. And as I've said, and every time you and I have talked over the past 4 years, my firm belief is this market will ultimately be defined by lack of physical product. But the bottom line is they say there's no bull market like a gold bull market for one reason. Every other bull market speaks to our greed. We want to make money. This speaks to our concern. We did almost $200 million in sales last year, with out of that under $1 million in buybacks. So think about that. $199 million in sales, under $1 million in buybacks. That is indicative of the market at large. There is virtually no secondary market. And when they talk about bull markets dying out of overparticipation, most people I've known my whole life, and I own a gold company, have never held a gold coin before. When it's all said and done, the biggest concern people will face, in my opinion, and the defining factor of this market will be lack of physical product. I believe that, so help me God, I believe that will define this market. There will be no product available when everyone wants it.
Oh, I believe that too. I firmly believe that. And look, here's what I wanted to follow up with. We're going into a time of turmoil here that maybe the world has never seen before, okay? As we're talking about an entire Western fiat system, a banking system built on really criminality and endless debt collapse. Now, I know that you follow Bix Weir's work. You probably have followed some of Lindsey Williams' work. We've got Andy Hoffman. We've got Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge. We've got Chris Duane, all pretty much saying the same thing. Now, Lindsey Williams is predicting that 2012 will be the year when the dollar will die. And you've got to keep your eye on this derivatives market, because we're seeing what's going on with J.P. Morgan. It was $2 billion, then it was $3 billion, now it's $7 billion. It just keeps going up. The derivatives market is key. And when that thing goes, all bets are off. And I think it's at that point that people won't be able to get the physical anymore, Andy.
I agree with you, Sean. I agree with you. Because when we go back to 2008, what frightened me the most to buy it, I remember laying in bed with my wife saying, what the heck are we going to do? I can't get anything. Now, keep in mind, I work with some of the biggest institutions in the world when it comes to buying gold. Prudential Beige, the largest distributor of gold in the world. I'm on first-name speed dial basis with these guys. And in 2008, when things disappeared, it happened in a week. Everything was gone in 1 week. There was nothing. And when I say there was nothing, I mean there was nothing. We could get, I could get no gold coins. I could get no silver coins. I couldn't get junk silver. I couldn't get silver bars. The only thing that came online for a brief period of time were some 100-ounce silver bars made by a company called Pyromet. Pyromet was a 30-year-old company that made silver pellets and rods for the medical device industry. They got a call from David Morgan, who said, there's a void right now. There's no investable product. You guys should make a mold. And they did. They made a 100-ounce bar mold, and it was the only thing available for months on end. I had distributors from Ireland calling me, telling me they couldn't get anything in Switzerland or Germany. I had dealers begging me on the Certify Exchange to sell them anything. I could place no orders, and it happened in a period of 7 days. Everything disappeared. So when you see a game-changing event like a derivative implosion or a dollar debacle or war in the Middle East or whatever it is that triggers the demand for physical, if you realize that there virtually is no secondary market. And when people say this time it's different, be careful of that. Well, it is different this time, and the only thing that's different is that there's no secondary market. No one is selling. And so if you realize that that is already the case now, when arguably most people in this country have no clue about physical gold or silver, when something happens that triggers the demand, the rush by the public, it'll be quicker than any of us can imagine, and it will disappear like that. There just isn't a lot of product out there in comparison to the amount of money that is. And so, I think it'll happen overnight. And that's why guys like, Richard Russell say it's about number of ounces that matter. You won't even remember what you paid. And that is true, too. Price is damn important, but getting it in your possession is more important now before there's nothing left. I believe to my soul that this market will ultimately be defined by lack of product. And if I had to guess what one thing would put me out of business, it wouldn't be confiscation. It wouldn't be government greed. It would be the fact that there's just no product to get.
All right, well, let's talk about getting a hold of physical metals right now. I know people can call you guys.
The easiest way for us to do business right now would be to call our 800 number, 822-8080. You can call myself directly at 255-1129, also an 800 number. I take phone calls till 10:30 p.m., 7 days a week. You can call me by just pushing option 2 on my voicemail and run you to my cell phone.
Well, let me just jump in, Andy, and say that that's actually true. You guys, you can actually call Andy on his cell, and he will take the call. He will take your order. You guys can also visit Miles Franklin, obviously, online, milesfranklin.com. But give him a call, talk to a broker, talk to somebody personal. They'll give you the personal touch. Well, Andy, we covered a lot of territory here, and we really do appreciate your time.
Hey, appreciate it, Sean. Thanks for the invite.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it, guys. Much more to come, and visit sgtreport.com for all the latest. Thanks for tuning in.